Now you mentioned that for you feminism is a lot about how you live your daily life, and I've noticed in a lot of your research you don't bring necessarily your feminism to bear on what you're doing research-wise.
Right.
Was that a conscious decision to keep those two separate, or?
No, I got my PhD with Donald Hebb in theological psychology, which I really loved. And, I've loved most of this, so I shouldn't really... But I was just thinking back to how I felt as a graduate student, and, full of this kind of, fervor and excitement and so on. I went from one thing to another in terms of my research interests, depending on a number of factors. But I wasn't a social psychologist. I mean, I only gradually became a sort of a psychologist who looked at cognitive and perceptual development. I mean, that already was a big shift for me, which took sort of a number of years. So it wasn't that I didn't want to do feminist work, it's just that wasn't where my research interests and skills lay. I thought about it, but I thought, I'm not a social psychologist. I wasn't planning to retrain as a social psychologist. So I thought I did a lot in academia of a feminist nature.
Okay.
That is, I taught, when we were in Santa Barbara, and this was, the late 60s until 71, fall of 71, is that right? Yes, and we came to New York. I introduced a psychology and women course, which I taught for a couple of years, and I was part of a consciousness raising group, and I was, there was a woman who wrote Fascinating Womanhood. I actually found her name somewhere. Somebody gave it to me. Helen Andelin, Andelin. But I remember the name is Fascinating Womanhood. Anyway, there was a big public forum. I can't remember who did it, who put it on, and they asked the university if they would send somebody to sort of debate or discuss with Helen Andelin, and nobody I was interested in doing it, and there wasn't another candidate, really. So, social psychologist or not, there I was, and we had, I thought we had a fine time, and I thought we definitely won. Anyway, and then when I came to New York, and I'm just trying to think, in Santa Barbara, the most important feminist thing I did, that I think is the most important feminist thing, although other people may not, is that there was a group, mostly students, that wanted to establish a childcare center, and I was really hot for this. And so we worked for quite a number of months on this, and we actually found a space. This was very exciting. The thing is that I was the only faculty member in that group, which is pretty disgraceful.
Really? Yeah.
And my children at that point were even too old for it. It wasn't that I was doing it literally for myself, but I knew what it was like to need childcare, and that it was hard to find good childcare, and if we could get childcare on the campus, that would be so terrific. For students, for administrators, for everybody. And anyway, this went on for quite a long time. And eventually, a graduate student and I wrote the proposal. And since I was the only faculty member, I was the one who went to the administration and made an argument for it, and so on and so forth. The graduate student, who became a very good friend of mine, because we worked so, passionately together. You couldn't help but bond in a very real way. So, anyway, it was really funny because the dean really disapproved of this because he thought women should stay home and raise their children. He didn't think you should. He really disapproved of this, but there were enough other people in the administration who approved. And when we finally got permission, this was really a great day, and then we got a group of volunteers to everybody's partner or child or friend. You got all these men and women together over a period of about a week, I guess. We painted the structure that they had given us and fixed it up for kids. And then one of the big jobs was putting a fence around the area. So there was a play area for the kids, but you needed to have a fence. And why I'm telling you this story is because this dean, who disapproved of the whole thing, came and helped us put up the fence. I was very, very touched by that. It's like he really thought women should stay home, but he thought it was important that we have a good, so to speak, childcare center, that there was a good fence, that the structure was, and I found that touching in its own way.